Hello, everybody, and welcome to not today's Mike Ames recruitment show, but today's Pete Ames recruitment show. Yes,
You
very
promised you
exciting
wouldn't
way
do
to
this.
start the new
You
year.
promised.
I know I promised, but I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. Shall I put it back?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it back. I'll put it back. Okay. So, welcome everybody. Happy New Year. We are here today with our normal guest, Kirsty, but for once she is front and center stage. She's going to be discussing how to shoot testimonial videos that work. Kirsty, let's crack on with this, and let's start talking about the relevant thing here. Why do we think we're going to need testimonials? Why would somebody want testimonials as a recruiter?
I mean, there's lots of reasons. My favorite reason is, I know we've spoken a lot about buying styles in the past. I'm still unsure as to whether we've done a show on it, but you get different types of people who buy from you. And one of them is called a skeptic, where they're basically skeptical of anything that you tell them. And this is especially common when you have something that, you know, we've spoken about before. Recruitment is mostly about how you treat your clients and the experience that you've got. And both of those have to be sort of experienced to be believed. And so very often, if you're dealing with a skeptical client who, once they're your client, are very good clients, they're normally very loyal clients, which is what we want, then having something where you've got somebody who's like them, a similar position to them from a company that they respect or know about, or, you know, looks like them, talks like them, acts like them, is going to be very, very helpful when you're trying to convert prospects into clients. That's my favorite reason.
Okay, yeah, I like that. And I think, you know, I think I've frozen. I think skeptics are amongst the most common type of buyer. Them plus thinkers make up the largest pot, don't they? And they all like to know that somebody has gone ahead before them and made whatever it is they're out to buy work. You're absolutely right there. And what you touched on, it's what Mike refers to as the Spartacus challenge in recruitment. I'm an experienced recruiter with 20 years behind me who specializes in your industry. No. So are the other 5 people who rang me this week. How do you differentiate? A lot of, as you say, it's a backloaded experience thing. Testimonials work because they bring it to the fore. It's like, here's a bunch of people saying that what I just claimed is true. Who else has that?
Very much so. And then if you add in
the other thing,
if you add in sort of whatever you think is going to happen this year, whether you think it's going to be nothing but a blip, or whether you think it's going to be catastrophic or somewhere in the middle, having people are going to, I think, become more fussy about who they work with. I think they're going to have a little bit more choice. They're going to be less dire need for it. So I think having testimonials like this can help give you a USP, really. They can help prove to your candidates over your competitors that you are good at what you're doing. So I think this year they're going to begin to become more powerful, which is why we're talking about them now.
This is very true. Actually, that's something that we're very focused on client, because I think next year is going to be difficult. But actually, if you're in the upper end of recruitment, perhaps you're doing exec search, where you've got candidates who really don't want to time of day. Having a bunch of senior candidates, CEOs, CIOs, that kind of level, on camera saying, we've had the blue, they've made massive to my career, you should give them a call, or variations thereon. That's going to make a big difference to your actual connection rates when you're doing outreach. So really good point that we hadn't thought about. We're going to get into Kirsty. These tests, something about why we want them, because the challenges in recruitment are always there. I think, but try and bite this off. But we are going to talk about how to actually use these testimonials in anger. I do just want to acknowledge a few people have said hi. So hello, Kate. Looking forward to this. Glad to hear it. So are we. We've got Ketan. Hello from India, Ketan. Those of you who were on last month's final show of the year may recognize Ketan. He was brilliant. If you have to go and check it out. And we've got Nadine, also from India. We've gone multinational. I like that. Right. Okay, let's crack on. So how should we use testimonials? Let's get this to the forefront. Let's get excited about it. Someone's got a bunch of testimonials. What do they do with them, Kirsty? Where do they fit them in?
Oh, this is my favorite thing. So when you're doing testimonials to begin with, I think you should aim to get between 3 and 5. I think that's a great starting point that you can then regularly build up and sort of regularly ask for them is what I suggest that you do. And there are three main ways that we at Flair use testimonials, and I think especially video testimonials, they're so powerful. So the first way that you can do it is what we call a credibility page. So we have this on our website. Pete, do you want to just share it so that people can see what it looks like? So if you go to flair.com.co.uk, you'll see that there is a page on there, which is just, that's not, oh yeah, it's just loading. So it's literally just a wall of testimonials. So when you go there, you see, I think there's something like 25 testimonials on there with various different areas that we work. And in there, you can see it's very often people cover the same things. So they'll talk about our key messages very often. They'll talk about, the things that we're known for, but they're all doing it slightly differently. So this is a very powerful way to deal with skeptics and thinkers. And it's very powerful if you're in a pitching situation, or if you work with intermediaries or referrers and you're trying to build relationships that way. This can be hugely powerful to get them on side for you, because you're then less of a risk for them to recommend, because they can see just how many people are recommending you. So this is probably my ultimate favorite, because I like looking at it sometimes as well if we're having a bad day. But that's my deal. This is what happens when you get an amateur to deal with the show. Look at this.
Amateur. I've also got signal problems. So it's worth mentioning actually that testimonial page is, because I'm in charge of our website, is our second most popular page after our About Us. And it's that popular because we send people there, don't we? Mike actively sends people there as part of the sales process. Yeah, and it makes a big difference. People mention it, but they don't watch them all. They don't actually watch them. They just watch one or two, and then the rest is kind of like.
Yeah, there's a lot of assumption on it that they are going to be good. So that's my favorite way. But I recognize that that's going to be something that it's a little bit down the line. So the second best way that you can do is directly send the testimonial to somebody. So if you've had a pitch with somebody, or you are just talking to somebody, you're connecting with them maybe on LinkedIn, and you want to prove how good you are, anything like that, you can put it as like a PS. Which is, as we know, Mike's spoken about before with Ada and things, just how powerful PSs can be on an email. Or you can put it directly in things and send specific links to somebody and sort of say, this is proof of how well I do on this. You can have, what's it where you put loads of testimonials of different people together? What's the word? Cumulative? She should know that, shouldn't she? I think it's a cumulative testimonial.
I'm not quite sure. I think amalgamated. You put them together. You can have one video with them all in. Or I think the other thing that when you've recognized somebody's a little bit skeptical, they fall into that skeptical thinker camp. You want to pick, and this is why there's a massive benefit to having a lot of these built up over time. You can pick testimonials that most resemble them as a person, either their industry, their job, their position, the situation they're facing. Having that and be able to say, look, here's 2 or 3 from what we've got. Most revenue, have a look. It works really well then, because it just has that concept.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And then
Kirsty, there is a third option.
There is, and I think this one is supremely powerful, which is when you're using them during a campaign or in a promo situation. So if you were running a campaign, even as small as to get people to come to a webinar, and you had little testimonials, video testimonials of people who've attended your previous webinars saying, I learned so much, it's changed my business or whatever, or you were running a campaign where you had a video element to it, having a 10 or 15 second snippet of testimonials towards the end of that video can really help people become more engaged with you. There are people out there who, when you're coming for a lot of campaigns, they don't know who you are from Adam. So having this in can sometimes buy you that extra bit of time to be like, okay, maybe I'll entertain you for a little bit longer because people are saying nice things.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so they're using the sales process in lots of different ways. And obviously what they're trying to do in every time is they're trying to overcome that skepticism. They're trying to overcome that Spartacus challenge, make you truly differentiate and stand out. Now, let's move on to actually getting permission. So I just want to do a quick experiment. I know we've got a few people here. Out of 10, for those of the guests who are here, if I came to you and said, would you appear on video for me? How comfortable would you be on a scale of 1 to 10? So 10 is, yeah, no, put me on camera. I love it. Me and Kirsty. or no, I'm a 1. You're going to have to drag me kicking and screaming onto the screen. So just pop that in the comments, because
I have an idea
I think
about what
I have an idea as well.
Mm.
I think most people are reluctant to get on camera. So that's the challenge we've got to get a video testimonial. What's your approach, Kirsty, to get around that?
Okay, well, I think a lot of people have become a bit more relaxed since like Zoom, and since COVID, people are more used to it. But there's something, we've spoken about it on the show before. It's called a 2-part ask. And essentially what it is when you first start working with somebody, or if you've been working with them for quite a while, then you would say something like, it's common practice here at Flair for us to ask for testimonials later on down the line when we've proven ourselves to you. Would you be okay if I talk to you a bit more about this further down the line, right? I don't think I've had a single person say no to me about that, because it's fine. It's okay. And then a couple of months down the line, you've proven yourself. Normally, I would try and time it where you've just done something really good. Like you've completed something and you've come in under budget, or you've done it really timely, or they're really impressed with you and have said to you. Then you say something like, okay, you know how earlier when we first started working together, or a couple of months ago, I asked you about getting a testimonial. Well, would you be able to do one for me now? Can we get it booked in? And it's a weird psychological thing, but because they've already said yes once, they're more likely to say yes again. So I would probably say between 70 and 80% will say yes on that second one. You are going to get a couple of people who will still say no. And it happens. You got people, particularly in larger corporates, I find they are more skeptical. So there's another thing that you can do to help sort of take away the element of it, is you can explain to them how very simple the process is and all this kind of thing. But what you need to stress is that they are in complete control of the situation. So when I do testimonials for my clients, I will not release the MP4 copy. I will not give them the testimonial until the person I've interviewed has told me to. And I have that on email and they say, yes, I'm happy, you can do it. Because when I stress this to people, it immediately makes them feel more in control. And when you're in control of something, you're more comfortable doing it. So that, I think, is stressing that individual is in control is going to be so powerful.
Yeah, and that just to clarify there, you're saying we actually tell our clients that as part of the contract with us to capture testimonial, let them have testimony until the person's happy.
Yeah. So I've done it before so what happens is I will get the information from let's say it's a candidate, right? I'm introducing a candidate. I will interview that candidate. I will then cut it down to, I get like 20 minutes worth of footage. I cut it down to about 3 minutes. I then go back to my client, the person who's hired me, and say, like, this is what I've got. Are you happy? Do you want to cut some more of this out or whatever? They say they're happy. I go back to the candidate and say, like, this is what I've got. And the candidate can tell me, oh, that bit there, can you take that bit out? And I will do it. I would ignore my client, and I've told them this at the beginning. If the candidate isn't happy, I will take it out. And I will refilm it if they want to. I've never had that happen, but I would. And basically, when you do that, it means that person knows they're not going to be, they're not going to be manipulated into saying something that they didn't mean, or something taken out of context, or using like weird cuts so their meaning is changed. They're in complete control, and it genuinely makes more people. It just makes people more relaxed. And honestly, as soon as I start saying that, you can almost see people go and just sort of chill out a little bit.
Yeah. So 2-stage ask, which I love, because as you know, I do voice of the customer calls for our clients. So what I will often do on the back of that, because they want to try and get existing clients they've known for ages to do this, I will do the 2-stage ask. So I will say, thank you very much for all the feedback, blah, 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 blah. You said some nice things. They're thinking of doing a video program in the future. They've not signed anything off yet, but when they do, could they come and ask you? And I reckon of the people that say yes, they can ask, 50 to 75% of them, if I'd just gone straight in, we do a video testimonial, would have said no, because they're clearly uncomfortable. And then I know, because some people do follow it up with you, that most of those people flow through to actually do the video testimonial. It doesn't just have to be at the first engagement. You can do it later on, just as part of a normal conversation. Oh, we're thinking of doing this. When the time comes, can I ask? So that's a way to fit it in if you haven't done it already. Just want to say, Kirsty, so we'll move on now. So I think capturing we've got cleared. We did have Kate saying that this is a big challenge for her.
It's for a lot of people.
Getting her clients on camera. And I think if you look over the scores we've had a big range. We did have one person throw down the gauntlet.
I like that, Paul.
In terms of his comfortableness on camera. I admire that, Paul. I admire that a lot, Paul. But most people ranged all the way from a 2, 5, 3s, a couple of 10s, people who I know happen to be podcasters or capturing video in the first place. So it's a big range. People will be uncomfortable. These tips and tricks will help you get around that. Let's move on then. So you've got somebody's permission. How do you actually capture a testimonial that's going to be good quality, they're going to sign off, and is believable to your end clients in the end?
Yeah. See, there's quite a few things. You know, the testimonial itself isn't, to be honest with you, that difficult to get, because people will go on camera and say anything. But what you want is a testimonial where they say the right things, where they reinforce your key messages, where they, you know, highlight your USPs, where they really make it believable. And there are a couple of different things that you can do. The first thing is, I've briefly touched on it, you have to make the person that you're interviewing very relaxed. So there are various things that you can do. I always record mine on Zoom because people understand Zoom and, you know, it's a comfortable software for them. I make them laugh. You know, I'm a very funny person. And I'm very self-deprecating, and so I make them relax. I know that's a really bad thing to follow with, but you know, I make them relax. I let them know what the process is, how it works. I reinforce that they're in control. I make sure that that individual that I'm doing this testimonial with is as relaxed as possible, because, like I said, when that person's relaxed, you're going to get a better performance out of them. It's going to be a more believable performance, and you're going to get them to say what you want them to say. The second thing is, I go in very aware of what I want them to say. I know my key messages, or the key messages of my client. I know the USPs that I sell on, and that's particular. I know what I sell with. I know what I'm saying to my prospective clients that I want this individual to reinforce. I know that. And I also am aware of, you know, any specific things I've done for that individual, or my clients have done for that individual, which makes them look good. And what I do is I use those keywords or whatever you like in the question. So Pete, for example, let's do one with you. Pete, very often, you know, when people think of little sisters, they, you know, want someone who's funny, they want someone who's kind, they want someone who's just an amazing person. So that being said, what kind of little sister am I, Pete? It's on camera.
I mean, I know what you want me to do here, but it's really hard. So as a little sister, I would say you're very funny. You do amuse me a lot. You're very kind and generous. And I'd say that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So very cleverly done.
2 out of 3.
Yeah, because when I say this to people, very often people feel that it can be a little bit manipulative, because I'm sort of force feeding people to say what I want. And it's not, because people aren't going to say something they don't believe in. Peter, although you do believe I'm amazing, hasn't said that because it's not something that he's connected with in his brain. He's picked out the key words from that sentence which he believes and wants to reinforce. And very often people are really grateful for that sort of lead or guidance, I suppose. That means not only are you getting the testimonial that you want, but they feel that they're giving you something, because people want to feel that they're good at what they're doing. And so by giving them the keywords, you can then say, oh, that's so powerful. Thank you so much for mentioning that I'm funny, because that's something that we really use to sell with. So I appreciate you saying that. And it sort of makes everybody happy.
Yeah. So you're looking for that sweet spot, because I'm sold to all the time, as most people are, I guess. I've seen testimonials, and they do tend to sit on one of two ends of the extreme. Either they are clearly rehearsed, clearly being given sentences that they've tried to make, and you can almost see them reading it on the inside of their head or off a teleprompter. And it's the cynic in me immediately launches out, oh, well, you don't believe that. You just agreed to say it because it's awkward. At the other end of the extreme, you've got this big, long, rambling waffle really, because they've been given no guidance. You're looking for something that hits the key messages but comes across as authentic.
Yeah. And it's very often something that when I'm doing the testimonials with people, they say, oh, you know, you haven't given me anything to prepare. And I do that on purpose because I don't want them reading anything. I don't want them to prepare certain answers to certain questions, because it lacks what is my third sort of point, which is the authenticity. And with authenticity comes mistakes. So I want people to stumble over their words. I want people to sort of look to the side and say, you know, how else do I say this? You know, she's really amusing. I want people to do that, because when I see that as a skeptic, and we have a salesman for a father, so maybe that's why we're so skeptical. But when I watch that as somebody, I know that that person is telling me something that they truly believe in and that they truly mean. And so when you're looking for, when you're doing these, very often people are thinking, oh, you know, I said a lot, or I said or something like that, and it's actually helpful. And so reinforcing that again is going to make your performer feel relaxed. So when you're doing this, please don't get them to redo questions because they or ahed or look to the side or something. That's what you want. It's liquid gold, or video gold, I suppose.
Video gold. And that's, I mean, it's worth pointing out as well, that pursuit of authenticity with imperfection is the reason that you don't turn up on site with around 3 different lighting structures and a highly professional camera and proceed to do swooping cuts, multi-angle, only because that, and again, the cynic in me, that level of polish creates a suspicion that perhaps it's not a genuinely authentic, their words perspective. Zoom desk, just talking to camera, much more authentic, much more
and I mean,
believable, therefore.
You can still get that individual to look really good on camera. So you can still make sure that they're well lit just by using a window, which is, you know, and I've got a little ring light, or making sure that there's not like dirty plates behind them. You can still do a level of curation around it, you know, make sure that they're not like down here and all you can see is their forehead. But yeah, you want it to be real. You want it to be authentic. And with that comes what people sort of look with. And yeah, it's going to be something that I think a lot of people, whilst listening to this, are probably going to disagree with me about. But our most productive and our clients that see me do it, I get clients off the back of it, because people who I interview for testimonials will then hire me to do testimonials for themselves, because they see how powerful this is as they're doing it and when they watch themselves back. That makes sense.
They see the difference. They see the difference between what they expect, and also because it's done that way, it's much more affordable than having 2 people turn up for half a day on site, and less disruptive. So we've got the capture, authenticity. I'm going to summarize them in. We have had a question come in from Paul, who's video testimonials, which I think is this. If anybody else has any questions they want to throw at Kirsty, please take the chance to do it. We've actually got a little bit of time to fit it in, so please feel free. So we've got this question from Paul. How long should the testimonial be? And that's a good question, isn't it?
Oh, it is a good question. And there's an element of piece of string, but there are some sort of brackets that I can give you. There are 3 sort of lengths that I would use. So if you're looking at a standard testimonial that you're just going to have on a testimonial wall, or that you're using to send to somebody, as close to 90 seconds as you can get it. You could probably do 2 minutes. Although 90 seconds to a minute is probably going to be more effective and punchy. And with that, you would have, you know, your real short snippets. Or perhaps you just have one question that they're answering if they are more of, to use Pete's term, a waffler, if you can't get them to do anything else. Then you've got the shorter ones. So if you're doing it in a promotional video, or you're using it during a campaign, or something like that, then I would say between 15 and 25 seconds. 25 seconds is quite long. I would get as close to 15. And what you're asking for is 1 or maybe 2 snippets that sort of bounce off each other and reinforce similar points, but in a slightly different way. But then what you can have is the one where you have a little bit more leeway, which is where you would do more of a case study type thing. So if you have, if you're on site and you use, you know, you're used by multiple people in different departments or something like that, you can ask multiple people different questions and put them in an amalgamation one. And you can probably get away with sort of like 4 or 5 minutes on that one, because people aren't going to watch everything. And you can, if you're using Vimeo or if you're using YouTube, you can add like little chapters to the video. which means that people could sort of scroll across and see the questions that they want to answer. So there's an element of piece of string, but if you're looking for just a standard one or one that you're posting on your LinkedIn or something, 90 seconds, a minute to 90 seconds is the aim. You've got the longer version of case studies, which can be closer to 5 minutes. And then you've got the little snippets that would be in your promo. So hopefully, Paul, that's answered your question.
Yeah, and those snippets tend to be a subset of the 90-second, don't they? Your 90 seconds, if anybody wants to see, go to the Flair website and find the testimonials page. You can see the way Kirsty does them. They're a bit old, but they're pretty much the same pattern.
Yeah,
it's a couple of question appears, then the question appears, and we break that down. So that's, you're not capturing lots, you're capturing one and reusing it. We have one more question, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize. We're going to then come to you for your final top tip, Kirsty. So we've had a question of Martin, which will slowly come up. So there you go. Let's on that one.
Okay, so the question is, do you top and tail the video with some branding?
Do you do a little some boom?
Okay, so the easy answer to this is, at the beginning, I would avoid your own branding. What I would normally start with, particularly if you're doing a longer video that's the 90 seconds or the case study, is start with the most powerful clip that you get. So say during the course of the interview, somebody said, Martin's the best I've ever worked with. Genuinely, I can't imagine a better recruiter. Then I would have that as the opening clip. And then I would go into, you can have something like a little bit of explanation about what the client is. So, Joe Bloggs works at ABC Limited, which is a conglomerate of this size, which has this many employees. Something that, the individual who's watching this is going to connect with. You can do that if you want, and you can brand that up in your branding. And then at the end, you can definitely have branding. So you could definitely have if you want to talk more, or if you'd like to contact us or something like that. If you're going to do that, though, I'd make it one thing. If you do too many things in a video, people won't do it. So just make it a very simple call to action. You can definitely have that in the end. You can do your styling. You can do however you want, really. If you can have frames, I've got clients or people that we work with who've done it themselves, who have different framing and all sorts of things. So stylistically, you can do what you want, but formatting, I would start with something really powerful. Remember ADA, you want to get their attention right at the beginning. And then you can sort of get a little bit more leeway if you really grab their attention at the beginning. So hopefully that's answered your question, Martin.
It has, and Martin's actually asked you.
Oh yeah, it's just money's in the post.
Martin, reach out to her. She's open. She's on LinkedIn. Easy to find. Right, okay, let's do some summary then. Before we do, I do just want to quickly talk about what we are doing in next week's show. Next week's show is going to be following on from the end of last year, virtual teams. We've got Ward Hampton, who's a client of mine and Mike's. He lives in Peru. He's got a completely distributed team around the globe, and he is making some serious impact in his industry using virtual teams. He's going to talk about how he makes them work for him in his senior level recruitment that he's doing. So he's doing really senior level exec search. So that's going to be next week.
And Mike will be back as well. It'll be Mike's first show back.
Yeah, well, who cares about that? We're here now, the younger generation. So let me summarize then. So testimonials work because in recruitment, we have that unique challenge as an industry of almost all of the things we claim that make us different can only be proven once you've experienced them. Really hard to differentiate up front. Testimonials, people exactly like your client saying to camera in a really authentic way that comes across as believable. No, he just told you is true. This key message, this USP, that's exactly what happened for us. It has an impact on a lot of your target market when it's used in the right positions in the sales flow. Best way to get those kind of testimonials is two-stage ask, to avoid the immediate no, and to make people comfortable that they will be 100% in control. Doesn't go out without their control. And finally, once you've got that testimony, the actual act of capturing it, make people relaxed so they come across as authentic. Let them err and stumble and waffle a little bit because it comes across as authentic. And know what you want them to say, and just plant the seed in the way you ask the question. I like all of those. Really, really good tips. So
thank you.
Finally, Kirsty, we are going to come to you for your final top tip.
Yeah, the top tip is definitely is think about your key messages, is make sure that you know what you want the individual to say. Plan it out. Think about what you sell on. Think about the things that are on your website that are mentioned. And what you want is, you want whoever you're asking the question to, you want them to reinforce those. You want them to say other things as well about how great you are and all that kind of malarkey, yes. But you also want them to reinforce those things, because that is what is going to battle what Pete said, that what is this, a Spartacus syndrome, where everybody's saying, oh, I do that too. You want people to actually say it. And so definitely, before you ask anybody, before you record with anybody, before you do anything like that, make sure that you know what you want them to say.
Excellent tip. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for those of you bearing with me, given terrible signal. We've really appreciated you joining us at the start of 2023, and we look forward to seeing you next week when Mike is back. So continue having a great new year.